So I picked up a new piece of equipment. I got this CFG 40UF mini excavator. This is a 4-ton class. It's 8,400 pounds. I think technically it would be 3.5 ton because they go by metric tons. But the unit weighs 8,400 pounds, 25 horse Kubota engine, 32 gallons a minute on the flow for the hydraulic system. It is nice and wide. It's got a good footprint, so you're stable. That is 5'7" wide outside of the track to outside of the track. It's 8'4" tall. It's daylight, so I can't show you, but the work lights are actually really good. I had to use them last night when I was unloading this when I got back from the warehouse. What else do we have here? It's got the mirrors. It is plumbed auxiliary hydros. It's actually got a couple auxiliary hydro setups. It's got one for a breaker, one for a thumb, and I believe this one you can use for a hydraulic quick detach, which this does not have. And to be honest, I couldn't find it. I looked everywhere and I didn't see it. It's definitely not on CFG's website. So I just got done giving this thing a bath. It's okay, you know. It's a nice color. I like the colors, but it's in pretty rough shape. This is a brand new unit. When I picked it up from the factory yesterday, it had 3.2 hours, and I'm pretty sure that most of those 3.2 hours were just from wheeling it around the factory. However, if you take a look, there is some pretty substantial body damage. That is actually caved in a little bit. It looks like something heavy and steel got dropped on that fender. There's lots of other crappy spots with the finish, and you got this right there. I don't know what that is. I just washed it, so it's not dirt. A lot of the stuff that did look like scratches actually did come off when I washed it, but a lot of it didn't. This one's rubbed right through to the cast iron counterweight. So there's lots of blemishes and you know, some here and there some significant body damage for a brand new unit. But other than that, mechanically, it is sound. I think it's got 6 hours now because I ran it the whole way home because the battery died at the warehouse and needed to charge it back up. I guess when these things come over from China, when they're sitting on the boat, the battery's kind of drained down. I don't know if they just forget to turn the battery switch off, or I don't know what the cause of that is. But as you can see, it's got good decals in here. Really do help explain all your settings. It's a comfortable seat. It's actually a really comfortable seat. It's a little skinny. The seat's kind of narrow for us big North American types, but other than it being a bit narrow, it's a very comfortable seat. The foot controls are nice. They're really easy to operate. I've run some excavators where these foot controls are kind of sticky and you really got to lean into them. It's hard to finesse them. These are actually, I mean, you can see I can move it with my thumb really easy. These are really easy to finesse, but you're not going to be finessing this because even in turtle speed, if you're only operating one track, it doesn't want to operate. It's struggling. There's a bypass somewhere that it's going through. Now, as soon as you activate the other pedal and start putting some fluid through the other side, both sides get full power. So you can, if you're feathering the side that you're really not trying to move, you will get power to that side and you'll be able to move it. So that was interesting. I've never had that issue before in an excavator. But other than that, mechanically, nothing to complain about. It does come with a Mars light. It's magnetic base, I believe, so you can just kind of put it wherever you want. I actually left it there on the drive home and it stayed there on the interstate, so it's a good magnet. It's got a quick disconnect so you can pop it off if you want to as well, which I probably should have done. Here's your engine bay. The door locks out. You know, to close the door, you just lift that up and you can close it. It smells like coolant in here, but my temp has been good. So I don't know, maybe there's just the surge tank. You can smell it when it's evaporating out of the surge tank, or you know, maybe some got spilled when they filled it. But I can smell the coolant, but there's no leaks. I'm not seeing it leak anywhere. And I don't smell coolant in the exhaust, and I don't see it in the exhaust. So I'm sure it's nothing unusual. I know my last couple F-150s sometimes smelled like coolant, even though they didn't have a leak. Here's your side compartment. here you have your battery with the quick disconnect right above it. Now this battery, obviously like everything else here, is from China, and I don't know if I can get down here. We can see the right. You should be able to find that size. And this type of terminal is going to be real easy to find. It's your standard post. So if you have to go to Napa or AutoZone or something to find another one, I don't think it would be an issue. Here we've got our oil cooler, hydraulic cooler, and radiator right behind it. Hydraulic tank is right here. Got our sight glass. I'll be honest with you, the sight glass is a little disconcerting. I don't think it's showing up on film, but it's not translucent the way that I would expect hydraulic fluid to be. It almost looks milky, but it's not milky. And then again, this also has a lockout, so when you want to drop this, you'll have to slide that over to get it to go down. I only got about halfway through the manual last night. It was pretty late when I got back. But here's your manifold block, your whole valve stack. The controls are really smooth. That's one thing I'm very, very happy about with this unit. The controls are very smooth. It's easy to finesse with this, and you know, with mini excavators, sometimes finesse it's just not in the cards. But this thing, I can finesse the arm and the bucket real easy. So let's get this closed and move on. Even though I just washed it, there's still some of the drywall that fell from the factory. In the factory, there's drywall falling, or not the factory, the warehouse. There's drywall falling, so you get this shit. And another thing I noticed was there's no shine on this front part. Something happened on this front area here where it's just dull. The rest of it's nice and shiny. The rest of it's pretty good actually. But that front part just, I don't know if there's some fluid got spilled on it. I mean, it's clean and dry now, but it ate off the shiny finish. And again, that's not a deal breaker. I got a tremendous deal on this machine, especially for what the machine is. It's an excellent quality machine, and you can see I missed a spot on the boom here. For those who don't know, the 40UF from CFG is actually a Sunward SWE35UF. Comes off the same factory line. So everything in here is exactly the same. The only thing that's different is the paint job. The Sunwards are a light blue color. Now the dozer blade, very beefy. It's got the shield on it. That's nice thick steel. That's 5/8, maybe 3/4 inch steel. I'm sure it's metric, whatever it is. So that's probably 15 millimeter if I had to guess. It's a good, stout, beefy design. They really put nice gussets in here. It's plenty strong. You won't have any trouble pushing dirt with this. It's got the tie-down rings on it. But I will tell you, you're not getting a chain with a hook through that hole. In fact, you're not getting a chain with a hook through any of these holes if you're using 3/8 chain. And honestly, 3/8 chain is what you probably should use. I had to pull the hooks off mine to get the chain through, and then I just used a binder on the chain. You can see some more of the drywall here. It's a nice beefy swing cylinder there. That's a 4-inch cylinder, it looks like, probably 100 millimeter. This, I don't think that's a 100 millimeter cylinder here. It's close, it might be, but it could be, 90 or something like that. And then this cylinder up here is, I believe, that's probably a 75 millimeter, maybe 85, somewhere in there. Same with the bucket cylinder. But you can see all the hydros are already plumbed. It's hard lined down the boom. I personally like hard lines. I prefer lines that go in the boom, but hard lines on the outside aren't a bad way to go either, because sticks aren't too likely to do much damage to these. They're bolted down well. As you can see, they've painted every bolt on this machine that I've seen so far has been painted, marked, so you can see where it was tightened originally at the factory. So if something happens, something starts coming loose, it'll be easier to notice it. I left the key on. You can hear the fuel pump going. I'm gonna close this up and take you inside the cab. Yeah, and the reason I'm making this video, before I bought this machine, I was really struggling. There's your fuel fill. Before I bought this machine, I was really struggling finding any information about it. There's almost no videos on the internet for this machine. There's a couple of videos from people who just got done buying one, like I did right here. But there's not a lot of information out there to be found. You have to really dig around, and then you have to go to the Sunward site, and Sunward is primarily international. They're a 25-year-old Chinese manufacturer. They're a very large manufacturer of concrete pumps and drilling equipment. But they also do some mini excavators. But they're a big player overseas. But there's only one place in America for Sunward, and that's down in Texas. There's your sprockets. They're nice and beefy in your drive motors. The undercarriage is pretty substantial. I mean, this is a well-built machine. All these welds are robotic, no doubt about it. There's a nice tie down here, and that's very thick steel too. That's at least 1/2 inch steel plate. And it looks like the rest of the framing in here is 1/4 inch steel plate, probably 7mm, 6mm, somewhere in there. But it's a well put together machine, other than, you know, some of the superficial stuff. The window goes up, you know, you pull these handles, and you can't just pull the handles, you have to flip this button right here. If you don't flip that button, it's not going to go anywhere. There we go. The travel on the window opening and closing, it's smooth going up and down. When you get to the top, it doesn't really lock in. This bottom part of the window is kind of floating up here. It's kind of loose in the track. That's not the greatest, but it does open and close pretty easily. Here's one of our data plates here. Now we also have the windshield wiper, which works really well, by the way. So does the washer fluid. Works great. I was really surprised at how well the washer fluid worked. Okay, now I turned this on previously. Oh, and this pedal down here, you flip that up, and here's your swing. Now supposedly, you can also do the swing by holding this button, and then I think doing the joystick. I'm not 100% sure.